Part 2, Chapter 5 of The Valley of Fear. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Chapter 5 The Darkest Hour. If anything had been needed to give an impetus to Jack McMurdo's popularity among his fellows, it would have been his arrest and acquittal. That a man on the very night of joining the lodge should have done something which brought him before the magistrate was a new record in the annals of the society. Already he had earned the reputation of a good boon companion, a cheery reveler, and withal a man of high temper who would not take an insult even from the all-powerful boss himself. But in addition to this he impressed his comrades with the idea that among them all there was not one whose brain was so ready to devise a bloodthirsty scheme, or whose hand would be more capable of carrying it out. "He'll be the boy for the clean job," said the oldsters one to another, and waited their time until they could set him to his work. McGinty had instruments enough already, but he recognized that this was a supremely able one. He felt like a man holding a fierce bloodhound in leash. There were curs to do the smaller work, but some day he would slip this creature upon its prey. A few members of the lodge, Ted Baldwin among them, resented the rapid rise of the stranger and hated him for it, but they kept clear of him, for he was as ready to fight as to laugh. But if he gained favor with his fellows, there was another quarter, one which had become even more vital to him, in which he lost it. Eddie Shafter's father would have nothing more to do with him, nor would he allow him to enter the house. Eddie herself was too deeply in love to give him up altogether, and yet her own good sense warned her of what would come from a marriage with a man who was regarded as a criminal. One morning, after a sleepless night, she determined to see him, possibly for the last time, and make one strong endeavor to draw him from those evil influences which were sucking him down. She went to his house, as he had often begged her to do, and made her way into the room which she used as his sitting room. He was seated at a table, with his back turned and a letter in front of him. A sudden spirit of girlish mischief came over her. She was still only 19. He had not heard her when she pushed open the door. Now she tiptoed forward and laid her hand lightly upon his bended shoulders. If she had expected to startle him, she certainly succeeded, but only in turn to be startled herself. With a tiger spring, he turned on her, and his right hand was feeling for her throat. At the same instant, with the other hand he crumpled up the paper that lay before him. For an instant he stood glaring. Then astonishment and joy took the place of the ferocity which had convulsed his features, a ferocity which had sent her shrinking back in horror, as from something which had never before intruded into her gentle life. "It's you," said he, mopping his brow. "And to think that you should come to me, heart of my heart, and I should find nothing better to do than to want to strangle you! Come then, darling," and he held out his arms. "Let me make it up to you." But she had not recovered from that sudden glimpse of guilty fear which she had read in the man's face. All her woman's instinct told her that it was not the mere fright of a man who is startled. Guilt, that was it. Guilt and fear. "What's come over you, Jack?" she cried. "Why were you so scared of me? Oh, Jack, if your conscience was at ease, you would not have looked at me like that." "Sure, I was thinking of other things, and when you came tripping so lightly on those fairy feet of yours—" No, it was more than that, Jack." Then a sudden suspicion seized her. "Let me see that letter you were writing." "Ah, Eddie, I couldn't do that." Her suspicions became certainties. "It's to another woman," she cried. "I know it. Why else should you hold it from me? Was it to your wife that you were writing?" How am I to know that you are not a married man? You, a stranger that nobody knows?" "I am not married, Eddie. See now, I swear it. You're the only woman on earth to me. By the cross of Christ, I swear it." He was so white with passionate earnestness that she could not but believe him. "Well, then," she cried, "why will you not show me the letter?" "I'll tell you, acushla," said he. "I'm under oath not to show it, and just as I wouldn't break my word to you, so I would keep it to those who hold my promise. It's the business of the lodge, and even to you it's secret. And if I was scared when a hand fell on me, can't you understand it when it might have been the hand of a detective?" She felt that he was telling the truth. He gathered her into his arms and kissed away her fears and doubts. "Sit here by me, then. It's a queer throne for such a queen, but it's the best your poor lover can find. He'll do better for you some of these days, I'm thinking. Now your mind is easy once again, is it not?" "How can it ever be at ease, Jack, when I know that you are a criminal among criminals? When I never know the day that I may hear you are in court for murder? McMurdo the Scourer, that's what one of our boarders called you yesterday. It went through my heart like a knife." "Sure, hard words break no bones." "But they were true." "Well, dear, it's not so bad as you think. We are but poor men that are trying in our own way to get our rights." Eddie threw her arms round her lover's neck. "Give it up, Jack. For my sake, for God's sake, give it up. It was to ask you that I came here to day. Oh, Jack, see, I beg it of you on my bended knees, kneeling here before you, I implore you to give it up." He raised her and soothed her with her head against his breast. "Sure, my darling, you don't know what it is you're asking. How could I give it up when it would be to break my oath and to desert my comrades? If you could see how things stand with me, you could never ask it of me. Besides, if I wanted to, how could I do it? You don't suppose that the lodge would let a man go free with all its secrets? I've thought of that, Jack. I've planned it all. Father has saved some money. He is weary of this place where the fear of these people darkens our lives. He is ready to go. We would fly together to Philadelphia or New York, where we would be safe from them." McMurdo laughed. "The lodge has a long arm. Do you think it could not stretch from here to Philadelphia or New York?" "Well, then to the West, or to England, or to Germany, where father came from. Anywhere to get away from this valley of fear." McMurdo thought of old brother Morris. "Sure, it is the second time I have heard the valley so named," said he. "The shadow does indeed seem to lie heavy on some of you." "It darkens every moment of our lives. Do you suppose that Ted Baldwin has ever forgiven us? If it were not that he fears you, what do you suppose our chances would be? If you saw the look in those dark hungry eyes of his when they fall on me. By gar, I'd teach him better manners if I caught him at it. But see here, little girl, I can't leave here. I can't. Take that from me once and for all. But if you will leave me to find my own way, I will try to prepare a way of getting honorably out of it." "There is no honor in such a matter." "Well, well, it's just how you look at it. But if you'll give me 6 months, I'll work it so that I can leave without being ashamed to look others in the face." The girl laughed with joy. "6 months!" she cried. "Is it a promise?" "Well, it may be 7 or 8, but within a year at the furthest we will leave the valley behind us." It was the most that Eddie could obtain, and yet it was something. There was this distant light to illuminate the gloom of the immediate future. She returned to her father's house more light-hearted than she had ever been since Jack McMurdo came into her life.